Let's see what Riot has been cooking up. Firstly, today loses Q is not true. We're not intentionally making you lose more games while you're losing. Doesn't even remotely make sense why we would even spend compute time and increase Q times to do that. We're not matching you on your honor score, your number of pings and runes, whether you're on a lost streak or any of that. We only match you on your MMR. Thing is, like, I don't know, like, there was a recent discussion in Korea that, like, people in Korea are coping that it's about honor and stuff. I never thought so myself. But what I do think is that for some reason, I can't explain why, but on some reason, climbing on some accounts is just easier than on another one. And then on other ones. I can't, like, explain why, but just to give, like, my own example. On the LR Nemesis account, it has by far the worst MMR. It has every single year. It doesn't matter if I take, like, 5 months break on the account. It constantly is much harder to win games on that account than it is on any of my other accounts. And it is also my oldest account. So I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I don't know. Yunara is releasing this patch after a string of spell-focused, non-AA oriented ADCs, Smolder, Akshan, and Samira. Akshan is non-AA oriented? I beg to disagree. We wanted to go back to basics with a simple but deep champion. We also wanted to add to our list of more simple releases in recent years, Mal, Smolder, Briar, Nafiri, and Milio, as we'd released a few higher agency ones in the past few, Ambassa, Aurora, and Hui. Okay, this is slight cope, because the list of higher agency, so-called higher agency releases is way shorter than the newer, simple releases. Yeah, the reality is that Riot is probably going to keep releasing simple champions, more so than hard champions, because, well, they have to cater the game around majority of player base, which is also why Riot has been simplifying the game a lot over the years. Simple champions that are fun are some of the most challenging things to design, but really proud of the team. We tried many different attack patterns here, but eventually landing on the R being a transform moment was the playtest we felt like we were delivering that power fantasy. It's a bit of a shame that this direction did not utilize her beats as much as some of the other directions because they're cool. Design, art, and narrative moving forward at all at once can result in this sometimes, and some of the directions can utilize the beats more than didn't feel quite right. Okay. Kinda makes sense. When you're designing a champion, they probably made the beats, like, try to be more a part of her, and then I guess when they were playtesting, they didn't find, like, a proper way to implement them into the game more. I would say that a good example of this is maybe Kindred. Kindred is supposed to, like, lore-wise be this cool character where the wolf is supposed to do as much as the Kindred, right? Whatever. The lamb. But the wolf is not a lot of the play pattern when it comes to Kindred. It's kind of how I see it, so that's my comparison here. Items. Attack speed items bearing Yuntal have not been in a great spot for a while, which is what I mentioned yesterday. AD items benefit from buffing your spell damage, but champions get so much attack speed from sources like Lethal Tempo, Greaves, that attack speed purchases feel worse by comparison. True. This is one of the reasons that led us to remove Lethal Tempo in the first place, but since it was so beloved, we added it back. And we'll need to find another way around this issue. True. As mentioned previously, a modest raw buff that both improves the Sarf's combo and skews more heavily towards his core user pool that want more mana, casted in Rise and Nivea. What I said yesterday. We like where Catalyst is currently in allowing champions like Victor or Yana to situation flex into to survive top matchups though. This is wrong. Catalyst is too strong. This is wrong. This right here is wrong. I'm sorry, Riot. It's wrong. One day you guys will drop your ego and admit that it's wrong, but today is not the day. While this may stem some interaction, traditional mid-mages for most players still feel like they lack agency in solo queue, particularly, and we want to keep this potent as a good option for them to feel a bit less team jungler reliant. Jungler reliant. I love how they put that when the data came out that jungle is like twice as strong as AD and support. Dr. Mundo. Mundo is sporting pretty highly on our frustration service, though at the same time we don't think he's overpowered. He's one of those champions that can feel oppressive when he gets ahead, but it's easy to not see all the games where his weak early game was abused and he was useless. It's possible that this means we need to do a power reshape or keep him power suppressed, but for now we're opting to just keep him as it. Borg buffs are also expected to make utilization options against him more real. The thing is, Mundo top is not overpowered. Mundo top is fine. Mundo jungle is overpowered. For sure. For sure it's overpowered, Mundo jungle. But it's overpowered only in high MMR for like 0.1% of player base. So of course Riot is saying, oh, it's not OP. Champions, mostly straightforward buffs and nerfs. Riven has been receiving a lot of attention, especially after the Timo clip. Love the discussion the clip generated, but we've been talking about nerfing Riven for a while before that. No, Riot, don't tell to Riven mains because they still think their champion is not OP. Don't tell them that the champion is OP. No, It's been very interesting to see that people are excited about killing Timos on their turret. Holy shit, thank you for the sub. Let's read the patch. Anything interesting? So Azir, yeah, they're gonna buff Azir again, which means it's gonna be played constantly in pro, but I guess at least we're in Fearless and we only have to bear him in one game, right? Base health plus 25. Yeah, big early game buff. Azir's weakness is early game. And WAP ratio up by 5%. This actually further buffs my build, the Nemesis Azir special build, which is Nashor into Rabadon. This further buffs my build more than other builds. Okay, fine, cool. Azir's WAP ratio is insanely aggressive, by the way, for a spell that makes you constantly auto-attack. It is an insanely aggressive AP ratio. I think people don't realize it, how big this AP ratio is. Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, Azir lost 5 MS and now he got these buffs. Would he rather get 5 MS or these buffs? Hard to say. I think 5 MS matters more in some matchups like Xerath and stuff and Wei. But these buffs are better generically, I guess. Darius. Q missing health heal up by 2%, 4%, 6%. Okay, fine. I like this buff. Because this buff kinda makes good Darius players stand out more, right? Like at least he has to hit the second part of Q. Fiora, R heal per second, 40 to 100% based on Vitals triggered to 100% always. Okay, this buff is not super insane because sometimes how often are you ulting somebody that is low? Not very often. And then he gets finished off. But what this buff might do is it might incentivize you now to actually ult somebody that is super low. So you get a fast ultimate off into fast heal off for your team. Like maybe, but I doubt this is 1% win rate. I guess we'll see, I could be wrong. Like it's a buff that looks big, but the amount of times Fiora will use this in a game, I don't know if it's that often. Fizz buff, W cooldown 7 to 5, 7 to 3, big. E damage, up by 5% AP ratio, big. Really big Fizz buffs. I guess, I don't know what Fizz max is, but I'm pretty sure it's W second, and now it's gonna be W second anyway. So, it's his second max spell, and yeah, Fizz just likes damage. I mean, it's decent buffs to Fizz. Low elo players are gonna ban this champ a lot. Frustration is gonna go up more. Okay, Ziggs. Q damage up by 5 base, and the AP ratio scales now from 60% rank 1 to 80% rank 5. Wow. Massive. Holy shit. E damage 30 to 190 to 30 to 190. AP ratio worse by 5%, better by rank 5. Wow. R damage 300, 500, 700. So better base damage on R, but lower AP ratio. Okay, cool buffs. I would say buffs for Ziggs ADC, buffs for Ziggs mid lane, 100%. They're giving him damage, which is exactly what I want. Perfect, because I think, yeah, the champion has a mobility weakness. He already has like other weaknesses. Sure, damage, yeah, this champion should be killing you if he lands abilities. They're already hard to land anyway. Really aggressive buffs in my opinion. This is like not to be underestimated because like think about it, Ziggs Q is an ability that does a lot of base damage but not a good AP scaling. Now it has actually a really good AP ratio. Wow, now Ziggs won't fall off a cliff in late game hopefully. And same goes for E. Also this will make it so you always max E second now. Because right now you can basically decide whether you want to max W or E. But now you're pretty much I think always maxing E with these changes. Secondary. Our max damage, sure, the 10% AP ratio, I think sucks maybe a bit for late game, but the base damage is definitely just a much better buff anyway. I mean, 50, hold on, wait. Is it? 50 more base damage at level 11 for 10% more less AP ratio. Yeah, no, 100%. The base damage is stronger. I don't know why I'm thinking in my head. Of course, the base damage is still stronger. This is good. These are just Ziggs buffs. Okay, Braum. 5 base armor down. Okay, so this makes sense. So Braum has the highest base armor in the game with Alistar, right? And they're nerfing base armor by 5. Normally, they nerf base armor by 3, but they're going for 5 here. And the reason for this is really simple. 3 base armor usually results into 1% win rate, roughly, of a champion. But if you nerf 3 base armor of Braum, it's not going to be 1% win rate, because his base armor level 1 is already super high. Usually a champion has like 30, 33, 35 base armor level 1, but Braum has 47. And because of how armor works with percentage, they need to go for a higher number than 5 here. So I think they're aiming for 1% win rate here with 5 base armor nerf. Lee Sin 380 down, so the classic 380 nerf, which I think is also the lever Riot uses for 1% win rate loss, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. 3 base armor, sure. They're going for such simple buffs. This is ChatGPT at its work right now. Riven, passive AD ratio down by 10% late. I'm not gonna say it's nothing, because it is something, but I think nerfing Riven early game would probably be better than nerfing her late. This is just not how I would nerf the character. Set, armor growth 0.5 down, also 1% win rate lever. This is a low skewed nerf because it targets late game more than early game. Reaper is the only pro player that's reading this. Twisted Fate, Q damage 70 to 250, reverted back to 60 to 240, which is what he had a couple of patches ago. Yeah, this is gonna fuck up his wave clear on Q again, and yeah, Twisted Fate, I think it's very realistic he will slowly fade out of meta. Players in general, I think, are just starting to itemize Mikael again, clans, mercs, playing around his gold card, playing around his ult better. This is just a champion that naturally loses value the longer he's in meta, because people get used to him more and more. I think in pro play he's gonna fall off for sure with this. This might not look like big 10 damage, but it is. On a stat checking champion that needs to get ahead early, this is meaningful on TF. TF still has one good thing, which is that spellbook is not really nerfed yet, so he still has like a good keystone to use, but yeah. Yasuo, 0.5 AD growth. Yeah, I'm never playing this champ again. This champ is dead. Like, rip to all the Yasuo mains in high elo. Just rest in peace. Riot simply just needs to fucking reshape and make Yasuo high elo skewed, not low elo skewed. This is pathetic. Yuumi nerfing because of China. R heal per hit going down by 0.5 AP ratio. It's just a mega small Yuumi nerf. Cool. Zoe Q damage down by 5. What? W damage down by 15. But up by 5% AP ratio. So you need to have 300 AP for W to do more damage. I think the W nerf is maybe arguably bigger. I don't know. Q is like more usability, I guess. I mean, small Zoe nerfs. I think this is never close to 1% win rate. This is like kind of whatever. These are placebo nerfs. Clad, okay. Blade. So they're buffing Blade for melee and range by 1%. I think this item will most likely still be too weak for range champions. But for melee champions, this item is a lot better. Is how I see it. Aurelia is really happy and Yon is really happy, and I don't know who else will buy this. Is there any other champ that buys this? Kraken Slayer, missing health on hit damage modifier up. Price 100 gold down. Okay, that's a decent buff for the Kraken Slayer. ADCs, besides Kai'Sa, won't really use Kraken, so they don't really care about this buff, but only Kai'Sa does. Maybe Ashe? I forgot, does Ashe buy this item? Maybe Ashe. Viego is happy. Belvet is happy. Mastery is happy. Auction? I think Auction will probably stay on crit. I don't think this is big enough. Phantom Dancer. Attack speed up by 5%, moon speed up by 2%. While the moon speed buff is nice, the attack speed buff, I don't know if it matters, man. Attack speed is such a worthless stat, bro. Whether you get 5% more attack speed, like, do you even care? The problem is if you go attack speed secondary on any ADC, you do no damage. You need LDR, you need Infinity. I don't know. This is a nice late game buff because some champions, maybe you buy Phantom Dancer now late game for the 10% MS. The 10% MS is nice, but the attack speed is just so worthless. Roa. 100 mana cost up, mana per stack up by 10, so it's 10 stacks in total. So it's basically 200 more mana at 10 stacks. Yeah, maximum mana goes up by 200. Okay, happy with this buff. I think this is the right way to buff Roa. I like it. It actually does buff more of its core users than anyone else. I like it. This is a Veigar buff, this is a Cassiopeia buff, potentially a Ryze buff, a Kassadin buff, a Nivea buff. I like it. Counting guys, inventory limit to 1, cool. Spellbooks, spellbook smite damage per swap. 600, 600, 900. So wait, how does this work? I don't get what this means. So basically, the 600 and 600 don't really matter, if I understand correctly. The only one that matters is the 1200 to 900. I believe this is the only thing that matters. And I personally am happy with this. I think this is a good change. Unsealed spellbook smite is way too unhealthy. Like, it's too easy to like steal barons and stuff and secure jargons and stuff. What I like about this is that if you have Unsealed spellbook and both junglers are that, then you can still go for smite and you can still get on the objective. That's what I like about it. That it's not completely dead, that they didn't remove it. But it's still there, that if the jungler is not there, or if you have a champ that does like insane damage and you pair it with this, it's still maybe possible to outsmite the jungler. Okay, cool. Overall, for mid lane specifically, this is a very small patch. Mid lane specifically, like TF nerf is gonna matter a little bit, and Ziggs. But that's it, like 2 champs. I mean, Azir, Feast, sure, they're there. Just not a lot for mid lane, but other roles maybe a bit more. GG.